the Finance Committee of the Whole. Is there a motion?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion made by Alderman Shadle, seconded by Alderman Parker to reconvene. Madam Clerk, could you please take the vote?
Parker,
Aye.
Stacy,
Aye.
Shadle,
Aye.
Sanders.
Aye.
Sellers is absent at the moment. Clem,
Aye.
Monroe.
Aye.
The vote is 5 in favor to reconvene.
All right, Alderman
I'm sorry,
Shadle.
6.
Okay, Manager Boyer, are you? Oh, sorry, roll call.
No, it's 5.
Mayor Miller,
Here.
Alderpersons Clem,
Here.
Monroe.
Here.
Simmons is absent. Parker,
Here.
Stacy,
Here.
Shadle,
Here.
Sanders.
Here.
Sellers is absent at the moment.
At this point, we turn the meeting back to Manager Boyer on item 7, which is discussions on budgets.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. All right, let's see here. Get on my glasses.
This is done.
While you're looking, I'll note that Alderperson Sellers entered at 7:25.
Okay, moving forward, just touching back with the city clerk, was there any thoughts or questions on the clerk budget? Okay, moving on to city manager, mayor. So just to keep everybody on the same page, salaries are divided between general fund, water and sewer in several places within the city budget. City manager is one of them. Also, we have a number of administrative staff here at City Hall that are divided up that way. So when you look here at item 5,000, it has myself and my executive assistant, Michelle Nelson, and half of my salary is divided in here but it also includes her entire salary. Essentially, if there's no questions on any of the standard withholdings, health care, life insurance, unemployment, and so on, moving down here to car allowance. One of the things I'd like to explain is at some point in the past, it was decided that it was beneficial for, or less expensive to the city, less impactful for the city manager to have a car allowance versus having a city vehicle. There are many meetings and different locations that I need to attend and have historically been followed by the other city managers in the past. Therefore, approximately 50% of the car allowance comes from this line item because 50% of my time is essentially on general fund and those kind of activities. In addition, we have education and training. Approximately $3,000 of that is for the Illinois City County Administrators Conference in the spring and in the winter. And also, there is at least one other in there. And then the mayor receives or has about $9,000 budgeted for the League of Mayors and other conferences that the mayor attends. In addition, I would like Michelle just to touch base on ordinance codification. Michelle, would you just explain that a little bit for the alderpersons?
Yes, the ordinance codification is sent in once, maybe twice a year. And that's when if anybody's looked up one of our ordinances on the website, these are the people who take the ordinances once they're passed by council and put them into that format. It's a little expensive, but it is required. And so I guess the cost really depends on how many ordinances you pass in a year.
Okay, with that, we only have a couple other smaller line items, office supplies and other. Are there any questions on the mayor and city manager budget?
Yes. Alderman
Right now,
Sanders.
I'm not Oh, that's right. It goes back to you. Okay. Yeah, my question is, when salary workers come up to be evaluated, who's making these evaluations to determine what salaries are getting increase or deductions? Who is maintaining that? Is it the council that determines what your salary is going to be per year, whether it gets an increase or decrease, or whether or not we want to reevaluate this and assess what you are getting? Is it the council that makes that determination? That's the question I wanted to ask.
Yes, it is.
It is? Okay, so when does that, your salary comes before the council, that including the mayor, yourself, and any other salary individuals who are receiving salaries? When do that come up? When is the date and time that these things come into, so we can take an assessment of it and evaluate it and have a discussion about it? Whether
Attorney
it's on
Zito has that.
whether it's on the agenda. Say that again.
Attorney Zito.
Wait a minute. Am I talking or what?
Well, you were just keep repeating
There's a
yourself. So if
clarification.
you want the
Oh, okay,
answer,
'cause I
he
didn't
has
hear-
the answer.
I didn't hear him. I just heard mumble jumble. That's what I was hearing. But only thing I just wanted to know, what's the process? That's what I wanted to know.
Thank you, Alderman. I'll go ahead and yield my time to Attorney Zito.
So with regards to the city manager's salary or review, there's a review that's done at the end of every single year. So after the fiscal year is done, then near the beginning of the first part of the next year, there will be a process where the council will go through an evaluation and basically do a review, just like any other employee gets a review. There's a review that the council does with regards to the city manager. I think, Ms. Alderman Sanders, you referenced the mayor as a part of this line item and her compensation. The mayor being an elected official, just like the alderman's elected compensation, it's set by ordinance, and that can't change
Right.
unless you guys choose to do it, 180 days before the next election there, which I think there's a discussion on an upcoming agenda about all the elected officials' compensation
Right.
to be discussed there, but the mayor's compensation can't change unless it's done as a part of that process.
I was curious about it. I just wanted to
Alderman
know.
Stacy.
I thought that in April, there was a interview done by the mayor and Alderman Sellers pertaining to City Manager Boyer.
Was that when you guys did the review? Was it by the time we got around to it? Was it April? By the time, okay. Well, I apologize. I'll confirm. We start the process in the beginning of the year there, but there's questionnaires that are sent out to all the aldermen for you guys to fill out and everything, and then we go into executive session. It may have been April. Rob, do you remember when you got your review?
We did not
actually
have.
did the
We
review?
did not have a review.
But it should have been in April. Am I
Oh,
correct?
you haven't had one yet? Okay, so we'll be doing one then.
Okay. I
So
was
yeah, it'll be
gonna
coming.
say,
Sorry.
I know I never received anything.
For the previous city managers, there's a review done there, so there will be one done for Rob as well. So
And the salary's set by that contract, correct?
his compensation is set in his contract. It's just we'd have to see then whether or not it's more of a performance review. So
Alderman Monroe.
Salary review, it's a performance.
Did you have something, Alderman Monroe?
I did. So why is the salary broken up again? Can you explain why half and plus the line item for the car allowances as well?
What was that last bit?
So why is your salary broken up into two different line items as well as the car allowance?
Michelle, if you want to go ahead and comment on that.
Director Richter.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
The city manager, myself, a lot of my staff, all of my staff, don't just work in the general fund. We do payroll, we do claims, we work in water and sewer also. They're different accounting funds for the city of Freeport. And so we are trying to allocate them. It's not uncommon to allocate somebody's payroll if they're working in different areas. So water and sewers, major funds, big time spenders. And so is general fund, and so that's why we break it up the way we do. Same thing with the car allowance, same percentages.
Alderman Sellers?
Has it been this way all the time that you've done it that way, or is this?
It has been this way since probably about 2017, 2018, I think, when we changed to city manager and about that.
Okay.
I'm sorry, 17.
Alderman Sanders?
So the city manager's salary is up for review this year or next year?
Attorney Zito?
So the salary's not up for review because he has a baseline in his original employment agreement. He had a set base salary there. So it's not like you can say, oh, we're going to make it $10,000 less, but he's going to get a performance review. Right.
Okay. Define a performance review so that we know how the process of that takes place.
So performance review. So just are you happy with his performance as a city manager there? And so my recollection in previous years is that a questionnaire is sent out to you guys asking for, in various categories. How do you think Rob does this? How well do you think he does that? And then, scale of 1 to 5, circle a number. Then you can also write, any, specific concerns. Hey, he's doing good here. He could improve there, et cetera, et cetera. All those questionnaires are then turned in to my office. We compile them. We go into executive session. We do a breakdown with the council, and then ultimately the review results are an alderman and the mayor typically will then and go have that performance review discussion with the city manager.
Okay, unless you have something specific to the budget, Mr. Sanders, we're going to keep moving.
That has a
Thank
lot
you.
to do with the budget. His salary has a lot to do with the budget.
As
For you to make that-
described
It
in the
does-
budget
it does-
right
it
here.
does not matter
Mr.
how
Sanders,
it's
you're out of order.
You're out
Manager
of order. What
Boyer.
are you talking about? You're the one that's out of order. I'm talking about a budget and salary that make that up what you're reading. So what are you?
Manager
you cannot
Boyer,
do
you have the
that.
floor.
You just don't have the right or authority to do that.
Moving forward, we have the communications budget is
You need
next.
to shut your mouth sometime and know what you're talking about. I'm tired of these type of comments that are being made off the.
You're
'cause you were
extremely out of
line.
order, sir.
You're out of line. The hell you talking about?
Okay, communications. We've got non-bargaining. Obviously, we have our communications director. 50% of his pay comes out of this budget line item. He does cover general fund items. He covers water and sewer. It's the same thing throughout, similar setup throughout the budget. Just a few notes. We have a request for some videography equipment. That accounts for line item 7015, machinery and equipment, and also website assistance that would be item 6540. The rest of the items are relatively carried over or analyzed, but carried over from last year. So no major changes there. Any questions on the communication budget?
So the education, training, and travel is more seminars for the
that would be-
community development department?
This would be for communications. And, there's a budget item in here for $400. So if Brian wants to attend some additional outside training, there's some funding there to do that.
I got a question. Is it a typo or is there really a double on health insurance?
So there was a staffing change in this department last year, and health insurance is a big swing if you go from single to family.
Thank you, Michelle. Any other questions on communications? Okay. With that, let's move into finance. So this is generally described as Michelle's department. Again, similar situation. Your normal wages and withholdings are up there. Also, for item one, item one, let's see. Car allowance and moving, etc. There's a car allowance there. Michelle does a lot of errands going back and forth to the bank and to the post office, so she receives a small car allowance to cover her costs related to that. Then on education and training, we have $4,000 budgeted this year for education and training, and that's to cover the costs related to new requirements, GFOA type of requirements, and to get that training, so web training and otherwise. So, and last one I'd like to just draw your attention to is item 6540, other technical services. We're budgeting, we have 1,000 bond disclosures, so that is accounting tech support for accomplishing that. Any questions?
That's a bond?
Michelle, would you mind filling in on that one?
Annually, we have a firm that we pay that puts out our bond disclosures. So it's not a new bond or issuing a bond. It is doing our due diligence and letting the people know who buy our bonds what the city of Freeport's about. It's a lot of demographics, numbers from, I think it's mostly water sewer department, maybe it's just sewer. Information about people who are purchasing the bonds that we have issued. It's a required, when we issued the bonds years ago for sewer department, it's required that annually we issue this disclosure. And it's just updated with yearly information, our latest audit figures, latest population, that kind of thing.
Could you define,
Alderman Sanders?
could you define other technical services? It's not broken down. It's a broad brush right there at the technical service that we are not covering all of the services that deals with technical services. I'd like to know if any of those kinds of anything that's related to technical service are there implemented into this particular budget as a part, is that part of it, because it's not broken down, and I like to, and it's not line item as we speak about this particular technical service. So is there something that that can be brought to our attention about that particular line item?
Manager Rick.
So what I just described, the disclosure agreements, disclosures required for the bonds, that's done by an outside firm, so I have to pay them. So that comes out of that line. And also, if I get accounting assistance from an accounting firm, that would be other technical assistance as well.
Okay.
Alderman Stacy? No.
Okay. Any further questions on finance?
Would our audits fall in that category?
Our audit is in a different section, which we'll cover closer to the end.
Okay.
Alderman Monroe?
Thank you. Is it possible to get because these are documents, clearly they're blue line, it looks like they're linked to other documents. Is it possible to get those so we can look at those line items a little closer?
I wouldn't have a problem with it. I mean, it would be a big paper stack, but
Yeah, it'd be huge, but it's every single line, every single item that goes into every single line.
right, and those are brought to the council every council meeting when we approve the finances. The expenditures are enumerated in before all those council meetings. So over the course of the year, you know that comes through with every agenda that you receive.
But that didn't answer my question.
Yes, you can
I'm
get.
not looking for a stack of paper. I'm looking for an actual document that I can click on that'll go to those so I can read deeper. Thank you.
Well, you wouldn't be able to click on it. You would, because
Yeah.
that would be in my software.
Right.
I can't give access to my software, but I can print it out for you. I can make a PDF of it.
So. Okay, with that, moving on. Legal. So we've been over the last few years, we've been seeing steady increases in the cost of legal. Not a whole lot of changes there, just standard upticks in the cost of doing business here with that. So, any questions on legal? Yes.
Yes.
Alderman Sanders.
Yeah, I got a report that, well, not a report, but it was mentioned to me, I put it like that. It was something that was said to me, that there's dumpers that are dumping throughout the city, causing cost to our manpower, our personnel, that we have to go out and make these kinds of cleanups and all these other
Does
kinds.
this have to do with the legal budget?
Yeah,
That's
because
what the topic of
because-
conversation is
because
about.
it's going to go back to the court. The information goes to the court, and the judge making
We're talking
assess-
about the legal budget
Okay,
right now.
okay. I'm tired of you.
Alderman Stacy.
You need to.
Does
argue
this
sometimes.
figure represent the lawsuits against the city? The suits?
Well, this represents everything and anything that we have spent money on with a lawyer to generate, defend, preside over everything. And I don't know if Aaron wants to jump in on any of that, but
Attorney Zito.
So, yeah, basically, as the city manager said, that, yeah, these are all the legal fees, whether it's spent between my office as general legal counsel, Attorney Cox's office as a special counsel in his particular areas, Attorney Coons, who does the prosecution on behalf of the city and code enforcement type cases and stuff like that. And what's that? The administrative hearing judge is an attorney there that serves. Huh? Oh, she's not in there.
That's not in there?
Oh, sorry. Never mind.
Separate
Okay.
department, which will,
My apologies.
that would be under
So you
community
said
development.
yourself, Cox, and who was the third person?
Attorney Tony Coons. And then there's certainly, while it's not part of this line item, there are other lawyers that represent the city, that are insurance appointed, insurance carrier appointed, but that's not part of this budget there, because they're paid for by the insurance company.
Pardon me, Alderman Sanders.
Yeah, when it comes to legal, back to the court, witnesses and services that is provided through this budget, all of that is not broken down to what the jurisdiction of that particular line item is supposed to cover. What is it covering, and what part of the witness and service breakdown? What is its purpose, and why are we looking at this particular line item about court services and witnesses? What is that about? Because there's no definitive answers coming from this particular item.
Director Richter.
so you're specifically asking about 6195, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
That's how, I believe, when we serve people with legal documents.
Attorney Zito.
So looking from the description there, that's court reporter, witness fees, and service fees. So to the extent the city has to sue somebody, it always starts with, you have to serve the person, right? Hire a process server to serve them with the court papers. They charge a fee. If we're in court, and you have to have a court reporter to type all the testimony, there, the court reporter gets charged the fee there. So those, and if you have to have a witness, you have to pay the witness a witness fee there. So to the extent we have a litigation like that, this is a line item that covers those expenses.
Alderman Stacy.
Line 6545, could you give me in details what that covers?
This would be Sosnowski Zito and also Anthony Kuhn. So,
And Cox probably, right?
yes, I'm sorry, and Attorney Cox.
Okay, with that, let's move on to community development. So I just want to start with 5,000 on bargaining payroll. So one of the reasons this changed was taking away. We originally approved the hiring of a code enforcement officer, and we later changed that to planner. So it moved budgets. It's the same amount. It just changed to community development 149. In addition to that, consulting services. That includes things such as asbestos, engineering for demos, and some of the substantial investigation on 1111 West Empire, which is the dry cleaning building that we're in the process of getting ownership of for demolition. Also, education and travel. That is essentially our continuing education for our staff. Some of them are pursuing degree or coursework that help benefit the community development department and advance the quality of our staff. So, and then the last item I'd like to just bring up for your attention is 6540, other technical services. And Michelle, would you mind detailing a little bit on that one?
Let's see. Some of them are, is this one?
So I'll answer that too, because I'm the one who signed all these as of to date for 2024. So one thing you're going to see here is Cherry Valley Signs is a contractor we use for all of our signs. So essentially every time we have a zoning hearing or we have to post notices for a demolition, et cetera, we're going to hire Cherry Valley Signs. So we'll call that a technical service. We have newspaper postings on here. We talked about that earlier, how we have to put newspaper notices into our system. So essentially, that's what you're going to have with technical services. Another technical service we use is Laredo, which Laredo is essentially the way that a city logs into our it's our county recorder. That is a tremendous asset for us. Actually, many people in other departments contact us to say, what was the latest real estate transaction? Do we have a lien recorded on this property? And that's a monthly fee. They also charge us prints for staff to use, myself included, to check the county recorder's office. So if we don't do that, we have to send a staff member over to the county recorder's office every time they want to check a recorded lien, et cetera. So those are just some of the technical services my department uses.
Thank you, Director Deckman.
Alderman Stacy?
So the non-bargaining back up at the 5,000, is that the position Elizabeth took?
Yes, that would be that position Elizabeth took. And when we went through this budget in 2024, what was originally discussed was adding another bargaining position would have been a nuisance inspector. And so in last year's budget, we discussed how we felt that what I felt the department needed more was somebody to help more with zoning, our zoning hearings, planning commission also wanted somebody to help out with more filing of liens, things of that nature. So that was what we discussed, and that's what we ended up doing at that time. So it's a non-bargaining position.
Okay, and I also would like to know more about the consulting services.
Sure. So I can go in detail on that. Many of our grants, if this is just a classic example, many of the grants that we work with require a tremendous amount of staff time. So, for example, right now we're on September 12th. We have a bid opening, the first bid opening. I'm very excited to announce that's going to be our first bid opening for the Adams Avenue Rehab Grant. So basically, it's a community development block grant, and we process it for HUD. And we basically essentially can bring housing rehabilitation services to low-income property owners. To give you an example of how that grant's administered in other cities, one person administers the grant. That's it. One employee. Because it's that intense of a grant. It's that much paperwork. It's that much involvement. Other communities will hire one employee for that one grant. And it just takes that much staff time. So I do not have the luxury of applying for a grant and then coming here and saying, I need another employee, I need another employee, I need another employee. If I have consulting services, what I can do is tell my planner, who has, I think, 10 grants on her plate, to get through this, we have a budget for consulting services. Let's hire MSA out of Baraboo, Wisconsin, but they have local offices. That's their headquarters. I will consult with Fair Graham on several grants. So that's what consulting services, much of the line items are going to come out of helping us to administer grants.
Thank you, Director Duckman. Glad you work here. Okay, any other questions on community development? Okay. Moving on to building. Up at the top, you've got a non-bargaining payroll that's Ben and Doug for the most part. And then just below that, you have AFSCME, and that's the nuisance inspector.
Did you say Ted and Doug?
No, Ben.
Ben and Doug.
Yeah. And then the nuisance inspector is just below that. So, Wayne, what's
it's Rodney's his name.
Rodney,
Yes.
Rodney.
Rodney was hired just, I believe, last month. Or maybe 2 months ago. I apologize.
So again, we have your standard withholdings, and then we come down to, we've got fuel and gasoline, lawn care. The lawn care one, we have kind of absorbed in Public Works. Ted and Sanjay have been mowing all the nuisance lots, and it's very effective for us. So we've reduced that. And then you go down to plumber inspections. I don't know, Wayne, would you like to expand on some plumber inspections?
So plumbing inspections is to become a licensed plumbing inspector. It's one of the hardest certifications to receive in the state of Illinois. You have to be working for a licensed plumber for 10 years. You have to have 10 years experience. So our building inspector and many plumbing, it's hard to receive that certification. So we hire BS&F. I think I have that acronym correct. They do our plumbing inspections for us. We have to hire that out because that's our building inspector has tried to receive that certification and it doesn't have the experience as a licensed plumber, so we have to hire that out.
Okay. Any other questions on building?
What is the workers' compensation?
Workers' compensation, Michelle, it's basically the insurance we pay based on payroll for any kind of workers who are hurt in the process of doing their job. So we pay that to the state. I'm sorry, IPVC.
Yes.
Lawn care, Greg. You cut that in half. Are you expecting to have that much less lawn to mow next year than we have this year?
Well, we didn't use any of it, So that's why we cut it in half.
Use it. Oh, because they're out there all the time mowing, and with people you mentioned, I see them out there.
What we used to do was we used to hire outside contractors to do the mowing, and we were paying something like $75 per lot. We are saving a tremendous amount of money. I think we budgeted something like $50,000 a year or something for mowing.
Yes, from when I started here, I believe if you go back to the 22 budget or even 23, it was around $25,000 to $50,000, and then we decided to have the city staff do it, and we kept a small amount of budget on there because when Rob and I, City Manager Boyer and I discussed, there may be a situation where they're down staff, or we have a small project, or maybe there is a situation we would need some lawn care. We kept a small budget item in there just in case to fill in with city staff.
I see them out there mowing all the time. They're doing a heck of a job.
Yeah, so they are doing a great job, and I appreciate that, Alderman. The one thing that we're getting, we're probably being we're very efficient with that. But we are paying those guys from our temporary mowers that we budget for every year, and we've always budgeted for at least 2, if not more. Michelle, do you recall? I mean, even in 2020, I think we at least budgeted for 2, didn't we?
In what year?
In 2020.
Ooh.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. That was back in the Stone Age. Anyway, so yeah, we basically budget for this in the public works budget, and then we send our guys out to do all the mowing. Yep.
Alderman Sanders.
Are we covering the complaints of lawn care to these dilapidated buildings, homes, and so on, where lawn care is not being administered? Are we budgeted to cover these kinds of costs, or have the people that are complaining within the community about these dilapidated property owners and who has grass that is growing up as tall as they are that they're complaining about? I've been hearing quite a little noise about that kind of thing. Are we doing anything about that?
It is a challenge whenever you live next door to someone who is not keeping up with their property. But the process for that is if there's a lawn that's growing up above, I don't know what's our spec, 4 inches or 6.
It's 8 inches, and
yeah,
then
60. If there's a lawn that's over 68 inches, then the party that's concerned about it needs to call that in. It gets scheduled, and we go out to mow it. If no one calls it in, we don't go out and just mow.
Maybe we had a complaint list where people.
We usually handle it within a week.
Yeah.
So if it comes in, we turn them out in a week. But this year, especially earlier on this summer, it was very wet.
Okay.
So I wouldn't say we got behind, but we had a lot of workload.
Just wanted to know if the budget covers those kinds of things.
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Anything else on building? What time does the game start?
8.
Oh. With that, I'd like to move on to administrative hearing. So, no changes here, just carryover from last year. So, this is Nicole Bauer's budget. She's the one that runs the code compliance hearings, and this is what we contract with her to do. So, any questions on that?
Alderman Sanders.
Does she service all the departments within our community?
If there's she hears all of the compliance hearings.
yes. So I would say the majority of them are exactly what you're talking about. Somebody's grass is long. They'll get their opportunity, to defend it in court. But that's just an example of a nuisance ticket that they would be able to go to an admin hearing court and defend themselves on. Typically, I'd say 75 to 80% of them are community development type cases. We do have some public works cases. Somebody putting in a driveway without a permit, maybe not using erosion control. Those will sometimes come in from public works. Our fire department, our fire marshal, Ms. Brocious, she will have cases sometimes. And I think that's covering all of it. Occasionally, City Clerk Anderson will have some cases for people who didn't maybe register a food truck or a taxi service, things like that. So it does cover all the departments, but I would say 75% or more come through my department.
Oh, okay.
Okay, moving on to human resources. Again, human resources is split 50, 25, 25, just like all the rest of them. Pretty much everything staying the same except for a couple items. Just draw your attention to 6260, that's training, education and training. And that's basically for the annual renewal for the SHRM certification for Kim. So that's the Society for Human Resource Management. It's an HR credential, and we like it because that they spend a lot of time going over what is required for HR representatives and updating them on any new changes or things that have happened out in the field. In addition, we've got other technical services. Under that, you've got things like background checks, our whistleblower hotline, Navex Global, and salary survey. So this was planned as we enter the environment we're in right now, where we have a lot of competition for workers. It's important for us to have a good baseline of knowledge, and that comes with the salary survey. So that's built into the budget this year. So and then we have $4,000 budgeted for recruitment and advertising, and then in addition to staff training. Kim's very judicious with her budget. As you can see, there's plenty of items there that haven't even been touched yet this year, but we appreciate that. Any questions on human resources? Okay. Moving on to information systems. So this year, IT has requested that we budget for a full-time staff person, technology person, so that's included in the non-bargaining salary range. So we'll be looking at that as we move forward. Also, if you look down at 6135, information system consulting services and GIS work is what is included under computer network consulting. So we depend pretty heavily on various computer systems. GIS is a huge one that we are constantly using as a resource whenever we do construction planning, whether we're doing water main repairs, sewer repairs, or roads. It is basically it's the map that shows us where everything is and gives us information about each item in the system. It also maps some of our zoning lots, our city-owned lots. And there's just a myriad of uses for it. Then item 6710, office supplies. So there was a bit of a decrease there. And then items 4 through 6, that would be 6755, 7016, and 7017. There's just been kind of across-the-board increases on telephone communications, hardware, and computer software. There is quite an elaborate spreadsheet that's available. If you're interested, I can give that to you. If Mr. Monroe's interested in that spreadsheet, it's very clearly itemized as to all the different pieces of software and what needs to be updated and maintained.
Alderman Stacy.
Yes, so the full-time assistant, will that give us 3 full-time employees?
Correct.
Alderman Sanders.
Their employment requires a certain eligibility and qualification to make these kinds of operations. And we did our vetting to determine whether these guys have their credentials in place, that we don't have to fear any compromising with software, hardware, technical information, and things of this nature.
I'd like to just pass that question to Kurt. Kurt, as far as all your certifications, do you want to hit on a few of those?
Yeah, we do our best. Obviously, security is a point where you're never 100% secure, but we do our best. I have a bachelor's degree and a master's degree in information systems. and I have for security specifically, Security Plus.
Yeah, well,
certificate.
we're talking about hiring an additional and wanted to know.
Without going too far in the weeds, we would probably
Yeah.
just look for somebody with some of those credentials, or if they didn't have all of them, it would be, we expect you to get those in a certain amount of time.
Okay, so this individual hasn't been slated yet.
No idea who they'd be.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Any other questions on information systems? Okay, going on to interdepartmental. Several of these items are for retirees. For instance, you'll note on item 5225, group insurance, we're budgeting for $192,000. That is for our retirees. Also on item 6050, I'm sorry, not 6060, bank fees. This is credit card processing. So, then item, yes.
Credit card processing for what?
For the billing office. Michelle, if you would like to fill that one out.
For online payments for permits.
Permit, sorry.
So you'll see the revenue wash out on the revenue side, and this is the expense side. So I have to pay the credit card company, but then we collect from the person making the payment as well.
Thank you. That's what I was wondering. Thank you.
Same thing, water, sewer, you'll see it there.
Okay.
Draw your attention to item 6390, insurance and other employee benefits. This is basically our umbrella policy and our liability policies. So as you can see, insurance has been continuing to go up. I'm sure everyone's experiencing that in their personal life. It seems like that's going on everywhere. We are with an aggregator. There's someone who's looking at all the rates for a number of different insurance companies and shopping the best rates for the city's portfolio. So far there haven't really been any changes. However, we're always looking for getting the maximum bang for our buck there. Item 9,000. These are the bond payments. So as you can see, we're transferring over and paying the bonds off. And then item 9050, transfer out. These are for large projects, various projects. Jane Addams Trail. We support the Jane Addams Trail Commission. The Peck Path, we support the Peck Path with a certain amount each year. This also includes the sidewalk program, the pothole patching program, and landfill. So things related to the landfill maintenance and upkeep. Any questions on interdepartmental?
That last line item you just had there, we dropped by $1 million. What is the difference there?
Say that again.
The last line item you just talked about, the transfer out.
Sure.
It looks like
So you got transfer to debt service, so that's our bond payments, and then you've also got the you've got the Jane Addams Trail, Peck Path, sidewalk program, and pothole patching program, and then if you look up at the top,
but we dropped from 1.6 to basically 6 in the budget.
Michelle, you want to comment on that? Yeah.
That $1 million went to the street fund. So last year, we budgeted out of reserves for $1 million to go
That
over
was
the street.
That was the reserves to keep
yes.
this year's floating.
So we have not programmed any of that going forward yet. We're still working through the budget, see what's going to balance, how's it going to turn out. So we haven't programmed any of that yet. I'm sure you'll see these line items again.
Okay. Alderman Stacy.
The transfer of various grants. More specific.
So right now, we're still gathering the data for these, for item 9045 and 9040. So those haven't been fully fleshed out yet, and we don't have those, but we'll have to circle back on those a little later in the budgeting process.
So you're not, okay.
Michelle, if you want to, see if you can add anything.
One second. So I'm just trying to pull up this year. So several of our grants require match. And if the, I'm just pulling up what we did so far this year, which ones they were. So Bulletproof Vest requires, I think is there a 50% match? That's a very small grant. But pre-disaster mitigation grant, the homes that we're purchasing and that requires a match as well. So throughout the year, as a billing goes in to get paid, we have to provide our match. So what you're seeing as activity this year, the 108 that you see there, that's us providing our match to that grant that we committed to. So I have to log each one of those grants in their match.
So are we talking about the homes that's being purchased on the east side of town?
Yes, the pre-disaster.
I mean, in terms of how the line item works, my understanding of it is you're dedicating funds that have to be going to the grant. So pre-disaster mitigation is a large one where that was essentially the 25% match. You have to dedicate. I don't want to speak for Director Richter here, but you're dedicating. What's being alluded to or said here is they're dedicating funds. They're reserved, and you have to show that on a line item here. So while it may not all be spent in this year, it still has to be shown that the city states in a grant we're matching 20%. That's where that money's going.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any other discussions? Public comments? No? See, Bernie, if you want to speak again, go ahead.
Just a quick comment. This process is a big deal, and you're asking a lot of the good questions. And she's doing a very good job, and Rob isn't doing too bad neither. It's hell from those two perspectives to get this accomplished. So it needs to be reworked, but I think it's coming along in a very positive manner.
We appreciate your input, Bernie. And that would move us to item 10,
What's that?
a motion for adjournment.
So move.
Second.
Sellers and Parker. We did
Shadle?
all. Aye.
Sanders?
Aye.
Sellers?
Aye.
Clem?
He fell asleep.
Signed out.
Monroe?
Aye.
Parker?
Aye.
And Stacy.
I'll get my eye in.
Oh, Clem's back.
We got a favorable, so that is 7-0. We're adjourned.